Thanks for clicking on Wayne.com for this edition of Inside the Zone. As you might notice right now, Blake and I are both right side up. Yeah, you know where we're going to start. You know where we're going to start because it's what everybody is talking about, and you feel bad for Colin Chalk. You feel bad for the Komets because it's something that was out of their control, but man, interesting evening.
Oh my gosh.
Saturday night.
Perfect storm.
And you've written a lot about it from all angles. It's really, it's been interesting.
I mean, who do you feel the most sorry for? You know, I mean, you have the biggest crowd of the year, you know, and I know that there's some wags on the internet are saying that they did it on purpose. Why? Because they wanted to make a fool of themselves in front of the biggest crowd of the year. What was the purpose? What was the possible positive impact for them for doing it? So you can get on ESPN nationwide and on Yahoo and be embarrassed, you know. So you can, you know, Colin wants to win here more than ever anyway. So you piss off him and you embarrass him in front of his family and stuff. It's just, it was the perfect storm of just the weirdest thing. And, you know, the Komets, the way the Coliseum works, you drop off the banner like Wednesday or Thursday, and then that's the last you see of it because it's in the rafters and they're not going to let you up on the catwalks to double check it. So what do? You know, I mean, you're just, and nobody has a spare ratchet in their back pocket to take apart the pulley system. I mean, just awful. I mean, I have never seen David Franke that upset. I mean, and nobody wants to win more than him. Losses, bad losses. They were just embarrassed. I mean, they just felt horrible. I mean, if they could have gone down during the game and apologized again to Colin, they would have.
Well, now they fixed it at the you know, in between the first and second period.
It kind of didn't. Kind of the barn was already open and gone. You know? I mean,
yeah. But when we talked about it last week, you said this is going to be like an all-time night for the Komets. It's going to be an all-time night for the Komets for the wrong reason now, which is unfortunate.
And Colin's speech was great. I mean, how cool was that? Where he basically talked about how Fort Wayne was home, you know, and how the people of Fort Wayne always treated them as family. I mean, holy cow, that was fantastic. That was such a compliment to the city and to the Komets fans. Even then, in that situation, he came up with that. He talked about his teammates and how, you know, it was kind of you play for the thing on the front of the jersey instead of the back, but it works. It makes it, you know, it works for everybody. It was just too bad that marred it all.
And again, the Komets didn't have any control over it whatsoever.
Not really, no. I mean, the Coliseum's not going to let them up in the catwalks to check things.
David Franke's not there banging around with a ratchet?
No. Oh, gosh, no. You know, and all I can say is that the proper apologies have been made. The Frankes went, you know, obviously during the incident, and then after the game they went and talked to Colin, and I know there were phone calls back and forth with Colin on Sunday, and I know there were phone calls from the Coliseum to Colin today apologizing, and that's all you can do.
Yeah. Well, I know you know Fort Wayne sports history, specifically the Komets, like nobody else. Has there ever been something kind of equivalent to this, or I mean, off the top of your head?
No, I mean, I know of championship banners, not here, but in other places that have been raised that got lit on fire by fireworks on opening night. I mean, I've heard of that one.
That's worse.
Yeah,
that's worse.
I've heard of one where the banner got reversed and, you know, got put up facing the wrong way. I've heard of that one.
Yeah.
You know, but I've never heard of this one.
No. Not a great night in terms of banners, but pretty good hockey. And I guess that's really the story of the weekend is that the Komets played some pretty good hockey. They've had some good comebacks this week. Specifically talk about the comebacks because I know we talked about it before the show. That's something that's really impressed you, kind of that grittiness, that ability to reach down. I think especially on Sunday when you're down 4-0. Yeah. Cincinnati's
on the road.
Good team.
A good goalie.
And it's not an easy place to play.
Yeah, I mean, they've done it 4 times in February so far. They've done it 7 times this year, and it's not all against Indy, which they've done that against Indy 3 times. It's just pretty impressive considering who they don't have. You know, you don't have Sid, you don't have Kyle. I mean, those would be the guys you would point to and say, well, if we're going to have a comeback, he's got to get 2. You know, but Brett Perlini is stepping into the lineup and doing it. Mike Gazzola is just Mike Gazzola. I mean, you know, my gosh, that guy's having a good year. Mike Embach's starting to get his shooting eye back. It's just Craig Desjardins. I mean, that that goal he scored Friday or Saturday night to go into overtime, that was pretty special. That was pretty neat.
You mentioned no Kyle, no Sid. That was the one thing that stuck out to me about this weekend. When you take a look at, here are their top 2 scorers, here are their top 2 pieces of offensive firepower, and you take 5 of 6 and do it dramatically to
And
get
you
the 1
score,
point on Sunday.
which has been their problem.
Right. How have they been able to make it? Obviously, Trevor Cheek coming back helps, but how have they been able to make up for the fact that these guys, I mean, I know Kyle's only been gone for the week, but how have they been able to make up for the loss of really their 2 best players on paper?
Well, think about this. Who are the guys that are stepping up probably the most? You got to look at Binkley. You got to look at Perlini obviously now, but you look at Curtis Leonard. You know, you look at guys like that, who Mason Baptista. You know, some guys like that who wouldn't be here if they had an affiliation. They would not have made the team at all. And now they've probably been among their most consistent performers all year. And I know I'm forgetting somebody, and I'm sorry about that, but there's 5 or 6 guys who would not have been here if they were affiliated, who have been here all year and have progressed each month. They've gotten better. And you got to respect that these kids are really stepping up and taking advantage of the opportunities they have and are playing pretty darn well.
Where are we at injuries-wise? Because last week we talked about a lot of guys who were nicked up. Where are some of those guys? What are some of the updates?
Everybody's nicked up. I mean, it's February. You've got, 14 games in February? You're never going to be healthy this month. It's just the way it is. Gabriel Beaupre is still questionable with concussion. I got to wonder if he's going to be able to make it back. I really do. And if he is able to make it back, if it took him this long to get over a concussion, do you want to take a chance for his future and his health by trying him again? That is a really, really difficult decision. Bobby Shea's going to be out another 5 weeks in Rochester, so he might be back for the playoffs. And you got to wonder with that, because he'll be starting cold again, you know. Sidlowski's got a groin strain. They're just being careful with him, and that's why Kyle's up, and Kyle's playing well. He got his first goal the other night, game-winning goal. And that's about it. Cody is – I see Cody getting better every game from his knee. I think Pat's getting better. He's starting to get more comfortable and reacting better and stuff, so – there's those kind of things, but everybody's nicked up at this point. I have a strained knee.
Well, and that's critical. You know? If the guy writing about him is injured, then just
I'm worried about my wrist.
Yeah, just imagine where the carpal tunnel.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
Just imagine where the players are at this point. Pat is one of the guys I wanted to talk about because he struggled a little bit. We've seen at the beginning of seasons, it takes him a while. He was hot at the beginning of this season before getting injured. So you kind of figured when he came back it was going to take a while for him.
It's basically a summer off.
Yeah, to hit his stride. The 1-zip shutout on Friday night, that was Pat Nagle hitting his stride, in my opinion.
It was, but it was also great team defense. I mean, it was very good team defense. And I just felt like the whole team played really, really well that night. It was fun to watch because it was the 3rd game in a row with Kalamazoo. There was a lot of snapping at each other, a lot of stick work, a lot of why I oughtas, you know. I mean, and it was a pretty good game. I mean, it kind of felt like a little bit of a playoff game because you knew one mistake could mean the game.
When you take a look at this week's games, another loaded week, a midweek game, +3 on the weekend. It starts Wednesday at home against Quad City, a team you would give the edge to the Komets on.
You know what, though? But if I'm Quad City and you might match up with them in the playoffs, if I'm Quad City, I'm going all out. I got to beat Fort Wayne here sometime. I have to get the last one here maybe to give some confidence going in the playoffs. You got to think about that.
Well, see, that's what I'm thinking is, do they not show everything?
No, I think you
think it's the opposite?
Yeah, I think you show everything. I think you got to keep them down. They've only beaten you once all year. You know, you've got to keep them down if you're the Komets, and Quad City is desperate to win that game. You know, a lot of times you see in the past where the Komets have been late February, okay, we should beat these guys. We were locked up in the playoffs. Oh, crap, what happened? You know, I mean, and I think they got to be aware of that.
Yeah, Fort Wayne currently 2nd in the Central Division standing, 66 points. Toledo first, 75. Quad City back there at 60. They're at 3rd. So, you know, their goal, I imagine, at this point is to take over that number 2 seed and get some home ice.
And we've talked about how the Komets still have a very good chance. They need some help, but they could do it. They could finish second in the conference behind Toledo, which would be very important for a home advantage in the third round if you get that far from the conference finals.
Friday at the Fuel, Saturday versus Wichita at home, Sunday versus Wheeling at home.
Yeah. Wheeling's going to be a great game.
A lot of it does lead up to Wheeling because you want to see that as, I don't know, that's kind of a benchmark game for this week.
It kind of is, but that means you can't overlook any of the other three either. Because if you overlook the other three, then you're focused on that, looking back rather than looking ahead at Wheeling.
Can you overlook the Indy Fuel a little bit on Friday?
But those have been the three of those games where they came back from 3 or 4 goals down. They've been against Indy, which means Indy was up at some point.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
And Hildebrand has been great against the Komets. I mean, he's gotten beat. I think he's 0-4. But he's got tremendous statistics because they've been putting 50 shots a game on him. He's kept them in the games.
Wheeling, to me, is one of those teams like Reading. They don't play them tremendously frequently, but when they do, it's a good hockey contest, and they're a good franchise.
Yes.
They put a good product out there on the ice. So
very well coached, well respected.
Exactly. How telling will Sunday's game be in terms of where the Komets are at this point in the season, do you think?
I don't know. I mean, it'll be if they win, it tells a lot. If they lose, I'm not sure it counts against them that much because you still don't have some guys. But if you compete well with them, it can say a lot. But you know what? What's fun, Glenn, is they're 19-5 at home. You know, I mean, they have a chance to get to 30 wins at home, which is incredibly difficult in a 36-game home schedule. They could still do that. They need to win Sunday then if they're going to do it. That would be quite an accomplishment.
When you take a look at this week in its entirety, what is the one thing you're focusing on? What is the one thing you're looking for as the Komets get ready to play 4 games in this week?
Well, it's the same thing as always.
Yeah.
They've got to cut back on the penalties. That's got to be the number one thing, the discipline. Now, I understand you want to play hard and you want to be hard to beat at home. You want to play tough, but you got to be careful too. You can't keep taking the tripping penalties at neutral ice. I mean, just because you stick the guy trips over your stick because you stuck it between his legs. Well, what was it doing between his legs? Did Nick Riopel flop when Mike Cazzola slashed him at in the Kalamazoo game? Sure he did, but why were you slashing him 200 feet away from the goal? I mean, you got to be a little bit more disciplined. All
right, we'll see if they can do that this week. 4 games. We got plenty to talk about next week. Plus, we're going to talk about a book that some guy wrote. I don't know. One of the two of us on
We're
the set.
We're still getting it through spell check.
One of the two of us on the set wrote the book, and I can guarantee you it wasn't this guy. We'll talk about that next week on Inside the Zone with Blake. I'm Glenn. We'll see you Monday.